Hello my friends and welcome back to Slay the Spire 2. Hope you're all doing well. Today we're playing the Silent. I had planned for today to be my tier list for this character, but they went ahead and changed the game on me again with the 0.102 patch, and the Silent got a bunch of major changes which I'm really excited to play with. The biggest one is that removing cards at the shop is now more expensive, which impacts the Silent more than any other character because card removal is so good for this character. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we play through the game, but let's jump in and see what our Niao buffs are. The other major changes to the Silent are that Untouchable was nerfed down to only 6 block, and that was a pretty key component of a lot of the decks that I was building before. It used to be 9 block at the start of the game, and now it's down to 6, so that shows you just how strong that card is, or was anyways. And some of the Shiv cards were buffed, so we might try to look to go into a Shiv deck, which I haven't shown on the channel previously, if we get Shiv cards in good spots to take them. Looking at these Niao options here, these aren't my favorite ones. I really dislike adding bad cards to the deck on the Silent, curses and everything. This character, you might think because we have extra card draw that it's less impactful to add bad cards, but it's actually the opposite. It's more impactful on this character because you need specific combinations of cards in your hand at the same time. You already have an extra strike and defend to contend with, so adding curses and dead cards on the Silent is more impactful than on other classes. So here I think we're just going to go with Precise Scissors, and we'll just go ahead and remove a strike. That's usually going to be the best of those 3 options. Let's look at our map here. So we have a couple paths that we can take. As always in Slay the Spire 2, our main priority is minimizing the number of hallway fights that we take, especially in Act 1. After the first 3 hallway fights, they come from a harder pool of enemies, but the rewards don't increase. So typically you want to try to take no more than 3 as much as that's possible. So I'm looking at the paths that we can do here. So we could go up this middle path. That's 3 fights, 3 events. We get a shop as well. It does, if we go to the right here, it commits us to taking 2 elite fights right away. We could also go to the left and then we could skip out on an elite fight if we're not feeling strong at this point. So it does give us a little bit of optionality depending on what cards we actually get. We could also go to the right here. Oh wait, this is just a better path if we were going to take this left-hand path, because this gives us a campfire instead of a fight. And then this is actually a pretty nice path. It's 3 hallway fights total. And then 2 elites. The elites might be a little tricky coming kind of back to back here. And then a 3rd elite as well. But if we get good early cards, I'll probably consider that one if we end up going down this path. These left-hand paths, I think you want to avoid. It's just too many fights. The right-hand path, similarly, just too many fights in a row. So you usually are going to want to avoid paths like that. So I think our main option is just this center path here. Let's go ahead and... So I could play Strike. With having removed a strike, our damage density is a little lower in this deck, but I think we can probably get away with trying to take a 0 damage fight against the Nibbit here. Basically, the idea behind playing Strike there would be to accelerate our damage, given that the enemy's gonna get stronger, and you need to be able to kill it on that turn. But since we're likely to cycle through to neutralize, as indeed happened, we should be able to take a 0 damage fight here. So we can play Survivor, block 13 damage, and then if I draw into double strike, we're fine. If not, then we should be able to defend all of these attacks, so we get a very clean fight against the Nibbit. And when we redraw into 3 strikes, we can kill it. Alright, so first fight down, 0 damage taken, pretty happy about that. So looking at these options, so we actually have, I think you could justify any of these options. Piercing Whale's a very good defensive card, it's pretty nice to have. Normally I would take Untouchable over Piercing Whale, but it has been nerfed down to only 6 block, so I think Piercing Whale early might actually be the better call. Snakebite, this is a card people love to hate, but it's actually not bad when you get it really early, because it has Retain. Retain is a really strong keyword. It means that you only have to spend energy on this card on turns when you want to spend energy. And in terms of damage efficiency, it's actually pretty good, because poison is just so powerful and it stacks really well with other poison cards. Now that said, here I think we're going to take Piercing Wail over the Snakebite or the newly nerfed Untouchable. But I think you could make the argument for any of those three options pretty easily. We have 108 gold with the new increased cost of removing cards at the shop. It'll cost us 100 to remove the first card, so that could be a problem. All right, well, we get some extra gold here. I really think this event needs a rework, by the way. The Sword of Stone doesn't give you anything until you kill 5 elites, and then it's bonus strength, which isn't particularly strong for this deck unless we end up with Shivs, which we have no indication that we're going to at the moment. And having that reward be so delayed is pretty bad, so usually you end up just taking 7 damage here, which is obviously a real penalty, but 100 gold is pretty good, especially because we're going to a shop soon. But I think that the Sword of Stone, because it's such a cool event, and you have to kill 5 elites for it, I really would like to see it reworked a little bit. Okay, so the Wellspring, this is also kind of a rough thing to take early. We are going to take 5 fights before the elite, or before the boss, though. So we'll have time to remove the guilty. I'll just need to find some damage before I go against the elites, so we're going to be looking for that in the upcoming shop. A random potion is fine, but I think just removing 2 cards early, especially because card removal is more expensive now and thus more valuable, should give us a lot of strength for this deck and let us build a pretty thin, pretty powerful deck. Alright, so looking here, I don't have any way to apply poison currently, so Outbreak is not particularly strong. Sucker Punch is an okay early damage card, as is Ricochet. We don't really have an easy way to replay the Ricochet, but it is a totally solid damage card for these early fights. Cloak and Dagger could be a fine blocking card. We already have 1 Piercing Wail. I don't really need the second one, and it's also a defensive card that we've added already. Venerable T-Set is also a very strong relic for very cheap, so I'm considering that. But given that I can remove another strike right away, maybe I just want to take Ricochet and remove a strike, and that'll make the deck quite a lot stronger. And then do I want the Sucker Punch or the Cloak and Dagger? I did say I was going to lean a little more towards Shiv cards if we get them in spots where they're pretty good. That being said, I don't know that this deck really wants Cloak and Dagger here. I think I'm going to skip on both of these cards, though I think you could make the argument for buying either of them. But we have at least one more fight before we have to take on an elite. We can always go to the left here if we feel like we need more cards before we fight elites. Like, we can take this slightly less fighty path instead. So because we have some options still upcoming, I think we can afford to delay the decision on how exactly we're going to structure the deck for just a little bit longer. Here we can play our Ricochet for some extra damage. We'll play Neutralize. And we're hoping that the Fuzzy Worm Crawler here gives us some form of inevitability. Basically, on the Silent, you're always looking for ways to make the fight, to make fights that go long always end in your favor. So that's things like Infinite Blades to generate Shivs every turn, things like Noxious Fumes to continuously increase poison on the enemies, everything like that. I'm going to leave Piercing Wail in the deck. I think it's fine to redraw it. And then here we can just go play some damage. And then I'm short of being able to kill it this turn. We're 1 damage short, but fortunately we have enough defensive cards that we're still going to take 0 off of the Worm Crawler here. Though that fight was a little close because we didn't take any tempo damage cards. Okay, so here's one of the cards that was buffed significantly. Leading Strike now is a very solid 1 cost 11 damage card that synergizes very well with anything that synergizes with shivs. That being said, Pinpoint I think is so good that we pretty much have to take it. 15 damage for 0 most of the time is going to be better than 11 damage for 1. And this is exactly the type of card that we need that adds a bunch of damage density to the deck going into an elite fight. So we're going to take Pinpoint here. And then we'll see what this event is. Sadly, it's a fight. It always feels so bad when you get these random fights in the question mark rooms, because not only is it an extra fight, which typically have worse rewards than the events do, it also means that our future hallway fights are going to come from the hard enemy pool, because these random ones do count for the counter of your first 3 hallway fights are easy and your later ones are hard. So it's going to make our future fights more difficult and the rewards worse. Here, I guess we'll just go strike, defend, and I'll save Piercing Wail because against 3 enemies, Piercing Wail is always going to be really strong if we redraw it. I will only be able to play Pinpoint for 1 here because we only have 2 cards in the deck currently. Or 2 skills in the hand, excuse me. And Survivor's a little awkward here, because what I want to do is neutralize this enemy, play Survivor and defend, discarding Strike, and then play Pinpoint. If I do that, though, I'm leaving this Twig Slime alive, and I can't play Pinpoint before Survivor to have Survivor be our last card in hand. So I think what we're going to do here is I'll just use my Neutralize on the small one just to kill it. And then we'll go Defend, Survivor, discarding Strike. And then we can play Pinpoint, killing the other one here. Then this turn I can play Ricochet, that's 12 damage. I guess it's worth just playing that rather than playing the Slimed. Just try to end the fight faster. Having the Slimed in the discard won't matter. Here, I can go Neutralize, and then Piercing Wail, Defend, Pinpoint, and that's the fight over. I guess the advantage of this extra fight is that we are removing the Guilty a couple floors sooner. A Colorless Potion, a pretty nice one to have for elite fights, but whether we go to the right or left is going to be determined basically by what we get here. I'm not thrilled by these. Anticipate is okay. Slice, I think, is pretty bad. Because while it's energy efficient, it's very card inefficient. Drawing a card that just does 6 damage is usually not what you want. So here I could go to the left, avoiding a fight. It means we're taking 1 hard mode hallway fight here, and then we get an event, chest, 2 campfires, a second hard mode hallway fight here, and then an elite. That's probably the safer path. Committing to taking 2 elite fights with this deck, which I think is not super well set up for fighting elites yet, just seems a little bit too dangerous. So we're going to head to the left here. If I get an amazing card, then I can maybe change my mind again. Here, I'll also take Sucker Punch. Anything that applies weakness is really good. It applies 2 weakness when you upgrade it, so it's a totally reasonable card in the late game. And it's a nice tempo damage card. This is exactly why this is such a rough thing to have these more difficult hallway fights start showing up at this point. But let's go Piercing Wail. Only 8 incoming damage, and then I can go Defend. And then I have Pinpoint and Sucker Punch. So I could just kill the Assassin Raider here. I could also just deal damage to everything else, but I can't kill the Assassin Raider because these are all attacks. So I guess I'm just going to minimize damage here by playing the Sucker Punch. And we'll try to take as little as possible. I could also have used my potion, but we do have an elite fight coming up. This turn, we can do Neutralize on this enemy, preventing 9 damage, and then I can play Strike on this one. We're going to try to kill it, and we'll play Defend and Survivor, blocking most of the incoming damage. This is also, probably the hardest fight that we could have gotten. We'll kill this enemy, and then I'm still fragile. Do I need to use a potion here? There's no guarantee that this actually helps, so let's try to end the fight somewhat quickly, and we'll just take a huge hit here. This turn, Ricochet is not particularly good. Sucker Punch does at least stop this enemy from doing damage, and we'll play Neutralize. And I guess I'll play the Ricochet as well. Given that I was playing Ricochet that turn, I should have played it first, because I could have maybe weakened this enemy for multiple turns. Here, Survivor being a little bit awkward again, but we can discard the other Defend, so we can play... We can still play Pinpoint. And once again, this is why, this is a really good object lesson. One of the things I talk about every single time is how important it is to avoid these hard mode hallway fights, and how currently the balance, I think, is off in Slay the Spire 2, such that the only thing that matters, choosing your path, is trying to avoid those fights as much as possible. That's a really good example of why, because it's very painful to take those. Okay, Infinite Blades gives us some inevitability and lets us maybe go into the Shiv deck, so that's something I'm interested in. Tactician is very strong, but we don't currently have Prepared or Acrobatics to make the best use of it. And while Snakebite is good, we've kind of taken some other tempo cards already, so let's take Infinite Blades and we'll try to scale here. And then we'll go to the left. I need to lose 3 health. Defend isn't a terrible card to remove. Obviously, the card we really want to remove is Strike, but I guess we'll remove Defend on the bridge here. And then Stonecracker is a pretty nice one. This deck really wants upgrades, and we're going to have to rest on at least one of these campfires. I think I can get away with not resting here, though, so I'm going to upgrade here, and we'll upgrade Neutralize, of course, just a super high value upgrade. And we'll try to take a 0 damage elite fight here, and then we'll definitely have to rest on this one before we have to take 2 fights in a row, including a hard mode hallway fight. Okay, so this is, again, probably the hardest elite that we could have gotten. So we're getting a little bit unlucky in terms of our elite rolls. In terms of our enemy rolls here. We're going to use our potion. Equilibrium is kind of nice. It gives a lot of block. Jack of all trades we could use basically as a discount on Pinpoint. Volley I don't think we want. Of these, I'm going to take Equilibrium, and I'll play it because retaining my hand this turn is pretty good. I definitely want to get Infinite Blade set up, and then I can play... Pinpoint for 15 damage, Sucker Punch just for the 1 weakness, but I guess we'll play Pinpoint on the enemy this turn. And we're playing the Pinpoint without playing any other skills, because we're retaining the rest of our skills here. And Sucker Punch we now can use in order to apply this weakness, which is important. So let's play our Shiv, we'll play Survivor and discard Ricochet. I'll play Sucker Punch as well, and only 12 damage incoming. Should I take 4 to try to kill the Frog Parasite faster? Because playing the upgraded Strike is pretty tempting as well. I think I should do that. Putting it to only 18 means we should be able to kill it either this shuffle, depending on what we draw, or next shuffle, which is very important. And... we did manage to kill it this turn. So let's go with Shiv and Pinpoint killing it, and then we can neutralize one of the small enemies. And this way we killed it. Because I took 4 and played the Strike last turn, we killed it on the turn when it was going to put more infects in the deck, so getting rid of those is really helpful. And then I'm going to neutralize this enemy because it's going to be attacking. It's always the first and third that attack on the first turn, so you can use that to determine what your how you're going to play your defenses. And I hit the one with lower health, because of course we can kill it. Let's go with Survivor, discarding Ricochet. We'll see what we damage here. And then I could actually kill this enemy with Sucker Punch and Shiv. So that seems pretty reasonable here, just killing one of them. And then we'll play a Defend. Infect does some damage, but we blocked it. Then we have 18 incoming damage this turn, but Piercing Wail can prevent a bunch of it. Sadly, I didn't draw any defends this turn, which is really bad. Because now I'm definitely taking a bunch of damage, but I will certainly play the Piercing Wail. I can kill this enemy if I spend all my attacks on it, and that prevents 3 more, so that's probably good. You can see how bad the Guilty and the Infections are for this deck as well. And then this turn, let's go with a Shiv on the low health enemy. And I'll play Equilibrium and Defend. By the way, Retain won't keep status cards in your hand, so you don't have to worry about playing like a Retain card when you have Infections. I sometimes see people get concerned about that. Here, I can go Defend, Survivor, discarding Ricochet. And that'll let me play Pinpoint for cheap. And then I can kill the high health enemy. Actually, I'm going to kill this one, because we're already blocking all of this damage, so I guess putting one fewer status in the deck is a little better. And then hopefully we draw enough damage that we can kill the Wriggler here. We're at 15 health, thanks to some slightly unlucky enemy rolls. But overall, I think we're in okay shape. Here, I'm definitely taking Acrobatics. We already have a Ricochet. This is one of the key cards for the Silent, sort of no matter how you build the deck. So Acrobatics is a nice one. Then we'll take a Rest here. Then we're going to go take this fight, and this shouldn't be as bad a fight, hopefully. We've got Infinite Blades, and we can play Survivor, pitch Ricochet. Also, the nice thing about this fight is that because we got that extra fight, we are removing the Guilty before we take the next Elite fight, which is really good. Here I'm going to take some damage no matter what I do, so we'll play Defend, and we'll play Pinpoint. And we take 5. And then here, I can go Neutralize, 9 incoming damage. So let's start with Acrobatics. I can replay the Pinpoint, and that's 19 damage. So we win the fight, and the Guilty is gone. We have 31 health to take the Elite fight. That's not terrible. Do I want Deadly Poison going into this Elite fight? Deadly Poison is a really important card for a lot of our damage output. It's another way to gain inevitability in these encounters. Blade Dance is an okay Shiv card. We have Infinite Blades, but we don't have anything that buffs Shivs yet. So I think we'll just take the Deadly Poison here to make the Elite and boss fight a little bit easier. It is adding one more tempo card to the deck, but given that we're low health, we have to fight an Elite. I think it's going to be important to do that. Piercing Wail, a really bad upgrade card for the Stonecracker to hit here, unfortunately. Let's go Deadly Poison, of course, and then I can play Ricochet, or I guess Pinpoint is more damage than Ricochet, so Sucker Punch and Pinpoint is the most damage we can do. Given that I'm doing that, I'll play the Defend first to take up the slow, and then I can actually play another Defend, because that'll make Pinpoint free, and so then we've ticked up slow to the maximum amount, and we can play Sucker Punch and Pinpoint. Here, let's go with Neutralize. We'll play the Infinite Blades, of course. Oh, I should have waited on the Neutralize until I'd stacked slow. That was definitely a mistake. Acrobatics, but we didn't draw into anything that we can discard for value, so we'll just play a Strike here. And I will leave Piercing Wail in the deck, even though it's kind of a bad card in this fight, because the enemy just does single huge attacks. but it's still better than a defend to draw. Alright, this turn, we're going to go defend, defend, and pinpoint. And so we'll then play all of these other cards here for maximum damage. And then 18 damage incoming this turn. So Survivor, Defend, and Deadly Poison is probably the way to go. Because Deadly Poison will be the most damage here. And we buff up our Shiv a little bit. 18 more damage coming in this turn, but I drew Acrobatics, which will let me play Ricochet. I'm always going to play Piercing Wail this turn, I think. So let's go ahead and do that. Because I want to stack up the slow before I play Acrobatics, since the Acrobatics is going to play the Ricochet. And then we'll discard Ricochet. 18 damage I need to do this turn, and we have 4, 8, 17 damage, unfortunate. But obviously we'll take our 7 here, and then we'll play these 2 cards. Oh wait, did I do the math wrong there? I might have taken 7 extra damage just by miscounting how much damage we needed to do. Okay, Regal Pillow is pretty nice given that we're super low health. Obviously not the card that I really wanted in this spot, or the artifact I'm really looking for, but it's really good in this spot. Serpent Form is an interesting way to scale our damage into the late game as well. Reflex and Sly or Reflex and Untouchable are both excellent cards. Even the post-nerf Untouchable is pretty good now that we have an Acrobatics and a way to actually cast that for value. But I think this could be a Serpent Form deck, because we really need a scaling option, and this gives us a way to scale into longer fights. So we're going to try Serpent Form here. Obviously, you could take either of the Sly cards and they'd be excellent, but I think that the Serpent Form is quite good with Infinite Blades, which, again, 8 are upgrade from the Stonecracker, kind of rough there. And so we can get some value doing that. I'm also going to look for the Serpent Form this turn by playing Acrobatics, and we'll see what we draw into. We didn't draw into anything particularly good, but I can neutralize the Kin Priest enemy. I could play Piercing Wail to prevent all the damage that we're taking this turn. Piercing Wail will probably be better later, but preventing all the damage for 1 energy means that we can set up some of our other cards earlier, which is pretty important. And then I can go Deadly Poison on, I guess, the lowest health follower, just because we want to remove that, and we'll take 2. So this turn, pretty awkward draw again. We've got 12, 18 incoming damage, so I can prevent 8 by using the speed potion. Is it worth preventing 8 with this potion? I think it usually is. So, oh wait, it's not quite 8 because we're fragile. But I think it's still worth playing it this turn because it still lets me play Pinpoint, which I obviously want to. And we're playing 2 defends already, so that's a lot of the value that we would have gotten out of that potion. Then we take 4. Alright, we finally drew our Serpent Form. I'm gonna take a bunch of damage this turn, I think, just to set that up. Because I think it's really important that we get Serpent Form out. So obviously means that I'm taking extra hits this turn, but this is how we actually win a longer fight. Neutralize, it doesn't matter which enemy I hit, right? So I'll hit the Kin Priest because it will typically do more damage overall. And then we've at least got our Ascender's Bane out of here. This turn I am gonna play Defend, Defend. We can't play Ricochet, so we'll go Defend, Defend, Pinpoint on this enemy, and we'll see where the damage lands, the random damage, and then I can Shiv it, but I think, yeah, I guess I'll just Shiv it and take the 33% chance that we waste 4 damage there just to make sure that it dies immediately. So I could acrobatics into one of my sly cards, which is just Ricochet, of course. But here, I think what we need to do is play Sucker Punch, Survivor, and that'll kind of maximize our block. Survivor, discarding Strike. And then, do I want to play Deadly Poison or Acrobatics? Let's play the Deadly Poison to, again, kill this enemy as quickly as possible. We're going to be fragile next turn as well. And here, I will neutralize the one that's attacking for the most damage. Defend and Survivor together is enough block, so I can play those. And then we'll do a Strike and a Shiv, and it'll die to the poison. 12 incoming damage this turn. I do have Acrobatics into Ricochet, so let's go ahead and do that. Then I've got 2 Defends to block most of the damage, and that'll also let me play Pinpoint. Very important here. We should draw into Sucker Punch or Neutralize, most likely on the next turn. So I don't need to weaken it. I don't need to play Sucker Punch this turn to weaken it again, because we should be able to do that later. You can see why I felt that the Serpent form was fairly important for this deck. It's been very good in this encounter. Let's go Deadly Poison. Sucker Punch won't let me play the Pinpoint here. We have like more attacks in this deck than I usually do, which is making Pinpoint a lot worse than it typically is. So that's kind of what's happening there. We don't need to weaken this turn though, so it's either 15 damage with Pinpoint or 14 damage with Strike Sucker Punch. But that lets us play 2 cards with Serpent form, so it's more damage to do it this way. Actually, the most damage was Defend into Pinpoint, right? Because that would have been 4 damage from the Defend and then 19 from the Pinpoint. And this way we dealt, for a total of 23. This way we dealt 12 from the Sucker Punch and 10 from the Strike for 22. So I gave up 1 damage by doing it that way. Mostly doesn't matter, but worth it to pay attention to that kind of thing. So I have Survivor and Defend here to block all the damage, so let's play Acrobatics. Hope we can draw into Ricochet, which we did. Which is a ton of damage. And then let's go with Defend and Survivor. And we can go Shiv, Neutralize, Sucker Punch, Deadly Poison, and that wins the encounter. So we're a little bit low health, because I messed up on one of those turns. But overall, a fairly clean Act 1. We definitely need some help from this card reward, though, because this deck is currently looking a little bit on the weaker side, and we definitely want to find ways that we can empower it. So let's see what we get here. Abrasive, I think, is really good. Storm of Steel, really powerful, goes extremely well with Serpent form. We don't have a lot of card draw currently, just the Acrobatics that can help us really fill our hand for Storm of Steel, though. And Abrasive is, I think, really strong, because anytime you can play it for free, +1 Dexterity is really good. We're going to be looking to add more discard to our deck as well. And I think it's definitely not Shadow Step here. I think, because Storm of Steel does kind of the same thing, but way better for this deck. So I think we're going to take the Abrasive, though I could see an argument for either of these 2 cards. And then let's go to Act 2. And jumping into Act 2, let's see what the Ancient has for us. Okay, add 2 Relax to the deck. I think that this is usually pretty weak overall. The 15 block, taking your entire turn is usually not going to be enough to block all of the incoming damage. Obviously, the bonus is pretty good, but I think that this card is just not strong enough to play. Like, if you found this as a card reward, would you add it to your deck? Maybe in some decks, but probably not in that many. Pale's Tooth, I think that this is a little bit underrated. I see people say that this is quite bad. Overall, the trick with this is you don't want to remove all of the cards that you want to upgrade, because that's probably going to be a bunch of your important cards. You want to use it to upgrade a mixture of things like defends, and cards that you want to upgrade, but still leave enough good cards in your deck that your deck is still strong. But 5 free upgrades is really good overall, and you can use it to sculpt your deck for early fights a little bit as well. And this deck also really needs card upgrades. That's something that we're really missing right now. But that being said, Pale's Blood, I think, is just too strong to pass up on. This is one of the best Ancient Rewards. It's just no questions asked, makes your deck way better at doing the thing that it's trying to do all the time, with no downsides. So we're almost always going to click this one when we see it. Pale, by the way, I think has the best Ancient Rewards of any of the Ancients, so you're always happy when you see them. Looking at the path here, we could go to the right, and that gets us a shop early, which is really nice. The extra gold is really good. In Act 2 and Act 3, the hard mode hallway fights start after your first 2. So the fact that this right-hand path lets us go all the way up here and not take ever a hard mode hallway fight is pretty nice. Going to the left, this is, again, just too many fights. This is too many fights. This is too many fights. So I think we're basically always going along the right-hand path. I've said this before. I do think that the fact that this is my overriding priority when looking at the map is indicative of a balance problem. Obviously, the game is in early access, so there's going to be some balance problems. But I would really like to see it changed such that it can be worth it to take those fights sometimes, as is, it always feels right to try to avoid them, which makes the game have fewer decision points. Let's block. I think I probably take 2 here. No, I can just play Deadly Poison and defend this turn. The Tunneler is going to be a little bit tough because it's going to do its big attack, and this deck does some direct damage and will be able to break through the block a little bit, but isn't amazing at doing direct damage. Here we can play Acrobatics, discard Ricochet for a little more damage, and then I can play Neutralize. Important to weaken it before it's going to do its big attack next turn, and then I'll play Infinite Blades for more damage and Sucker Punch to keep it weakened for longer. Nice to cycle through basically the whole deck in just the first 2 turns as well. We'll go Shiv, Neutralize, and then I'm probably just playing my 3 defensive cards and Pinpoint here. So let's start with Piercing Wail. We're happy to exhaust Piercing Wail in this deck as well. We're keeping the enemy weakened, which makes the strength loss from Piercing Wail less valuable. Because of the percentage reduction, it's gonna reduce less damage overall. And we don't really want to redraw that card against this enemy that mostly just does single big attacks. So we'll take we'll take 2 here. That's fine. We've got 19 damage incoming this turn. It is too bad that I wasn't really able to set up Serpent Form. But here I can go Survivor, discarding Abrasive. And then I'll play the Shiv. I don't quite have enough damage to break through its block this turn, so we'll just go with Defend and Deadly Poison. Actually, what am I drawing? I'm drawing Acrobatics Ricochet, so that's enough to break the shield and stun it. So I don't need to play Strike. So we can set up Deadly Poison, and we'll take some damage here. Sadly, the Thorns aren't enough. Even though we would have stunned it if I played Strike, the Thorns aren't enough to stop us from taking that 5 damage, because we take the damage before the Thorns happen, so we didn't need to worry about that. Discard Ricochet here, and we'll play our Shiv, and then I'll play Deadly Poison, and I guess just the Pinpoint. No point in playing any of these skills or anything. And then here we've got enough damage that we end the fight. So a slightly rough tunneler fight, but overall not bad. All right, Noxious Fumes. I'll still take this, even though we're not really a poison deck. This again gives us a lot of inevitability, which we're very happy to have. These other cards aren't really interesting to us. Upgraded Noxious Fumes is super strong, so we're very happy to have it. All right, we might struggle to kill the Thieving Hopper here. Let's start with Neutralize against before it takes one of our cards. But Infinite Blades will give us enough attacks that we can potentially stun it, which is good. So we've got 14 damage incoming. I don't have Acrobatics to draw. The question is, am I playing Abrasive or Ricochet with my Survivor discard? And I think the answer is that we're playing Abrasive here. This enemy will later do multi-attacks, so the Thorns are going to be good, and the damage is pretty important as well. I'll try to prevent the maximum amount of damage this turn by playing Piercing Wail, and we'll take 1. And then I'm going to play Infinite Blades for sure, and we'll set up Deadly Poison. It's the most damage we can do. All right, well, it's stealing our Noxious Fumes. If it ends up taking those, it's not the end of the world. But obviously, we'd prefer that not happen. Let's start with Acrobatics and see what we draw into. And I can discard a Defend here. So the real question is, I'm always playing Shiv. The real question is, do I want to play the Pinpoint? We do 15 damage either way, so I guess it doesn't really matter. There's no point in playing like a skill and then playing Pinpoint or anything like that, so let's just play some cards. So now it's in its Flutter mode. And we've got 23 incoming damage. The enemy is not currently weakened, and we didn't draw any of our weakness effects, which is fairly unlucky there. Or Survivor. Yeah, this is like the worst possible shuffle we could have gotten. Survivor would have been good enough to block all this damage. As is, we're going to take 5 this turn if I play Triple Defend. Is there any reason to do something else? I think taking 5 is fine here. Or is the best we can do here. And then this turn, I at least have Survivor discarding Ricochet. And that's going to stun the enemy for a turn. And then I can go Shiv, Strike, and Sucker Punch. And then it's going to escape this turn unless I have enough damage to kill it, which I should with almost any reasonable shuffle. So we were able to kill it, took a little bit of extra damage, but we got our Noxious Fumes back. Also, always check the card reward before you click Take Your Stolen Card Back, because the card reward might change whether you want this stolen card. There's definitely cases where that can be true. For this particular case, we're almost never not taking the Noxious Fumes back, but always just good to be in that habit. Also, Calculated Gamble, one of the best cards we could find here. Incredible with Pale's Blood as well. And we need more discard outlets and more draw, so really happy with that. We'll take our Noxious Fumes back, and then we'll go to the shop. Do I want a second Calculated Gamble? Bag of Preparation, also incredible. Momentum is kind of interesting as well, so that would work with Ricochet, right? I actually don't know. I believe it will just increase the damage of Ricochet from 3 to 8, which means it goes from 12 up to 32, which is an incredible boost, giving it momentum. I haven't had this particular interaction. I believe it works that way, but I could be wrong about that. Outbreak goes very well with Noxious Fumes. Bag of Preparation is incredible. Less necessary with Pale's Blood, but still really good. Centennial Puzzle, also really good. But I think just removing a strike is, again, the most important thing, even the more expensive card removal. And then here, I think I will buy Centennial Puzzle. This can really help in harder fights, and it's a very powerful relic. Calculated Gamble would be good. We already have one, so I don't need the second as much. Outbreak could be okay to add as well, but let's add a powerful relic that gives us a little more consistency here. Okay, I'll happily take a relic, and Happy Flower is a really good one. I don't really love losing any of these. Probably Regal Pillow is the worst of the 3 relics that it wants to take away here. But Potion Belt is pretty awful. We don't need that. Lasting Candy can be very nice for the Silent. And we are going to take a few more combats. We're taking like 3 more combats, or maybe more if I go to the left here. So that would be fine. Amethyst Aubergine is a lot worse. I think I'm losing the Stonecracker, not because I want the Lasting Candy, but because the Aubergine and the Potion Belt are basically useless. Of these 3 relics, I think that Stonecracker, like Lantern is such a good relic, I want to keep it. So while Stonecracker is a very good relic, and I would rather have it than Lasting Candy, obviously, we don't have the choice of just not doing anything at the Relic Trader. But that is what I would do if I could. Do I need to rest here? I think so, because we're going into 3 fights in a row. Losing out on all of those upgrades feels so bad, though, because we just took the Stonecracker out of the deck, which was a source of upgrades. And this deck is quite desperate for upgrades at this point. We only have Noxious Fumes and Neutralize as upgraded cards. But I don't think I can greed here. I think we just need the health going back up to 70, because we're taking 3 elite fights before we reach another rest area. Alright, the Entomancer, we've once again not drawn Serpent Form on the first turn, which would be kind of nice here. But let's start with Neutralize. The Entomancer is one of the worst enemies for us again. Usually the Silent loves fighting the Entomancer because you don't make attacks, but this character is going to make a lot of attacks. That being said, we do have Abrasive, which is very good against it because it makes a lot of multi-attacks. I think I am going to use my my block potion here as well. That way I can set up Noxious Fumes and I can play Sucker Punch. It is worth playing the Sucker Punch for an extra turn of weakness, even though we get a Daze in the deck. And then I can play Double Defend, blocking all of this damage. Sadly, we can't quite play Pinpoint here. But that is 1 fewer Daze, so it's not the end of the world. 15 incoming damage this turn. Is it worth it to set up Serpent Form? To just take 15 damage? The alternative is Deadly Poison, Survivor, and probably I play the Piercing Wail, even though it's very good against this enemy. Just to maximize my block at this point. Oh, I actually don't need to do that. So it would just be Survivor, Deadly Poison. Strike against the Entomancer is usually not worth playing. The 6 damage is not worth putting a Daze in your deck. We do have Centennial Puzzle as well, so we would take 1 after playing Survivor. Or is it worth taking 9 here to get Serpent Form set up? It will make it a lot faster to kill the enemy, but we're probably not playing Infinite Blades during this combat, because Shivs are so bad against the Entomancer. So I think that what we're going to do here is just pass on playing Serpent Form. It was really good in the boss fight, but has been really bad in every fight since then, by the way. For those keeping track of Serpent Form's success rate. But we'll take 1, we'll draw our 3 cards here, and then this turn I can go... I don't want to play Infinite Blades. I really don't want to play Ricochet, which means I can't play Calculated Gamble this turn. So I guess we're just playing Abrasive. I could play Acrobatics and draw 2 as well. So I could play another card to get a card out of my hand before playing Acrobatics. So, yeah, let's just play the Defend here. It discounts Pinpoint if we end up wanting to play that. And then we'll draw 3 off Acrobatics, play Abrasive for free. And then I will play Pinpoint. I do think that is worth putting a Daze in the deck, even if Strike isn't. And then we're not playing Infinite Blades. It'll just fill my deck with Shivs, which we don't want. And we're not playing Calculated Gamble. It'll play Ricochet, which will ruin us. Here, I've got to play Sucker Punch to weaken the enemy. And then we'll play Defend and Defend. Deadly Poison is pretty nice as well, but now that we have the Thorns set up, we don't need to try to do that much damage to it super quickly. Put some more Dazes in the deck here, and then we'll play some Defends. And then this turn, now I can play Calculated Gamble if I want. So let's play Deadly Poison and Sucker Punch on it. And then I will play the Strike, just to lower its health. And then, doesn't really matter what I do, actually, because it's just buffing, and then the Poison will kill it. Okay, Touch of Insanity is nice. Blood Vial, not bad. We're not taking that many combats for the rest of this act, but it's still pretty good. And then here, Phantom Blades is pretty interesting with our Infinite Blades. We're ending up in kind of a weird hybrid Poison Shiv deck, which isn't where I usually like to be, but I do think that this is a pretty powerful power once you have Infinite Blades. Pen Nib actually works, usually a dead card for most of the poison-based silent decks that I like to build, but actually quite good for this deck, because we are going to be playing a lot of attacks. Alright, so here, I'm going to use my Touch of Insanity just to get Serpent Form into play, I think. Or do I need to do that? So I'm going to be... I'll weaken the enemy, and we gain a... gain an energy here. I could have played Serpent Form first if I was going to do that, and so I lost 4 damage. I decided to make the math easier and lose 4 damage there, but obviously that's a suboptimal play just to make things a little easier, like, mentally. Which is totally fine to do that, to, like, give up 4 damage off of Serpent Form just to make the calculations easier. I don't have any block, really, in this hand, though, so... I guess we're taking a huge amount of damage kind of regardless of what I do. So let's just spend the turn setting up some powers. I can play everything if I use Touch of Insanity, so I guess it is just worth discounting here. And then we'll play Infinite Blades, Phantom Blades, Piercing Wail, Noxious Fumes, and Deadly Poison, and I want those over the pinpoint. And then we take 13. Drawing some cards here. Let's start with our Shiv, and then we just gain an energy, which is pretty nice to just have access to that. I definitely want to play Abrasive off the Acrobatics, so I need to play one other card first. I should be able to just play the Sucker Punch, because I'm always doing that. And then let's play Acrobatics. Discard Abrasive here. Calculated Gamble will let me discard Ricochet for value as well, and our hand is full, so let's play the Calculated Gamble, redraw a bunch. Play Ricochet for free here, redraw into Pinpoint. I will then... play Acrobatics, trying to redraw into Ricochet. We've got 12 block here, so if I Acrobatics into Survivor... Yeah, I can't redraw into Ricochet because it's in the discard, but I can Acrobatics into Survivor to prevent a damage, or I can just play Triple Defend to prevent a damage. I think Acrobatics into Survivor and cycle through the deck faster is better. Because this lets me play Neutralize this turn as well, which is kind of nice. We can play Pinpoint here. We can play Survivor. And I could play Deadly Poison as well, but let's just block all the damage. We shouldn't take any damage for the rest of this fight, I think. Assuming that I can draw reasonably well. Though this turn, I guess we will. But here, we're going to play Defend, Defend, Defend. And Sucker Punch. And take 3. And then here we can go Survivor, discard Ricochet, and that kills the enemy. Alright, so we took a little bit of damage in that fight, but not bad for an elite fight, honestly. We'll take a block potion. Tough Bandages, unreal relic to roll for this character. Obviously, for the Silent, this is like one of the top tier relics, and we already have Calculated Gamble and Acrobatics, so Tough Bandages is amazing. Of course, it makes any prepareds and future Calculated Gambles and stuff that we find better as well. Speedster was nerfed, so this card used to be 2 damage when you draw a card, and 3 when upgraded. They nerfed it down to 1 and then 2. This is our bonus power from the Lasting Candy. Do I want Speedster at all in this deck? We already have Serpent Form doing kind of the same thing, and I think our deck is kind of full of expensive mid-quality powers, so we're going to skip on the Speedster here. I think it's just a little too expensive. Alright, deal 50% more damage, but lose 2 HP. That can be okay on some of our attacks here, but like on the prepared, or the pinpoint. But here we're gonna just transform our last strike. See what we get here. Alright, we got Snakebite. That's fine, because it has Retain. And then no reason that I want to go to the left. I probably won't have enough gold to remove another card because it's going to cost 200 at the next shop. Although that's a little sad because we're probably going to get a couple cards I don't want here. No Prepared off of the 2 common cards as well, which is too bad. But I'll definitely take an Acrobatics, and I think we'll take Deflect. We have Pale's Blood, and we need more block, so Deflect is going to be the way to go. Backflip would also be okay. Most of the rest of these cards are either for early game tempo or not very strong for our deck. But those are fairly nice additions here. I think we were always going to get this elite, so that's fine. Let's play some weakness cards here. I think this turn we'll probably have to use our block as well. Sadly, we don't have a way to discard the Abrasive. So what am I playing this turn? I would like to play... I'm always playing Neutralize and Deflect. So I can play the Neutralize first, because it just lets me do the math more easily. Abrasive, I would like to just play for full value. Can we get away with that? We don't have any other block, really, so I think that we are just going to be playing the Abrasive at full cost here. We'll play Deflect. Deflect also works well with Pinpoint, by the way. And then I could play Sucker Punch or Infinite Blades and Noxious Fumes. I'm always going to be playing the Noxious Fumes. Sucker Punch could let me block a little bit more damage. I'm going to use my block potion because it's going to get the maximum value this turn. So that's 15 damage and then 24 incoming damage. So Sucker Punch could prevent like 2 damage there, but it means not getting Infinite Blades set up. I think I would rather just get the power going. Pretty bad first draw there, causing me to take a little extra damage because we didn't draw any of our blocking cards. Alright, so this turn, I would love to be able to play the Serpent Form. Unfortunately, I don't think we can here, because I need to play Piercing Wail to block all the damage. So let's play Piercing Wail. We've got now only 6 damage incoming, or 7 damage incoming. So Survivor is enough to block all of it. We'll hit the one with the lowest health here. I'll play Survivor, discarding Ricochet. And then Deadly Poison. I will play on, again, the lowest health enemy here. I could Acrobatics into something, but there's nothing that I can discard, because we already played both our Sly cards. And then we retain Snakebite, so even though it's, you know, in the deck as a sometimes dead draw, we're not going to redraw it as a dead draw here. And it's like an extra card for Calculated Gamble, that kind of thing. So I've got a bunch of damage incoming this turn. I need to draw into some more defensive cards here. let's play my Shiv on this enemy. We're going to try to deal enough damage to kill it. Then I'm just going to play... I'll play Acrobatics first. We have the Tough Bandages, so I want to discard as many cards as possible this turn. Because we're just going to get a ton of block from that. And then... do I want to play Neutralize before I play Calculated Gamble? Probably. Let's neutralize this enemy. Anything else I want to play first? I don't think so. We'll just play this. That's a bunch of block. This turn we've got 18 plus 30, so 30 total damage incoming. Survivor is 12 blocks, so that's enough. So this enemy will die next turn. Let's get the high health one lower. So we'll play Deadly Poison here, and then we'll play Survivor. Oh, actually, maybe I shouldn't have killed this segment this turn, because now it will probably regenerate. Oh, except not, because I have enough damage to kill all of them, so it worked out. So very clean elite fight there. Tough Bandages really showing what it can do. Nunchaku actually works quite well with our Shivs, so, you know, this is another relic that usually is kind of a dead draw for the Silent, but pretty good for this version of the character. Ooh. This is a really interesting hand. Prepared is incredible, and especially good since we have tough bandages. Envenom works really well with our Shivs and combines well with Noxious Fumes, combines well with Ricochet, could be a very powerful power to add to the deck. And Untouchable is good, but less good given that we have tough bandages, because it's obviously more block than discarding just a normal card, but discarding anything is worth 3 block. So I don't think we need the Untouchable. I would rather pick up card cycling like Prepared. The question is, do I want Prepared or Envenom? I think we'll take Prepared. I think this deck just needs cycling so badly that Prepared is we're just going to take it over pretty much anything that we see. Warpaint is pretty interesting here. We do need upgraded skills. That's something that this deck needs very badly. Accuracy could work well with our Infinite Blades. We only have that way to generate Shivs, but it is still a lot of extra damage, and we might end up with Storm of Steel like from this boss, for example. But I think I just want the Warpaint here. I've talked extensively about how this deck is just missing upgrades. We just need to make our overall card quality better. And yeah, there's some cards we could hit that would be kind of worthless to hit here. But, you know, a Defend and a Piercing Wail upgrade are totally fine for this deck. And then I think we can get away with 42 HP, even against the Knowledge Demon, who is one of the harder enemies for this character to fight. But I do think that we can just go ahead and upgrade here. And what do I want to upgrade? Oh, it's got to be Prepared, of course, because we need to cycle through the deck faster with that card. And then we're going to go fight the Knowledge Demon. So here, let's start by playing Neutralize just to thin our hand a bit. And then I'll play Prepared, and we'll see what we draw into. So, gave up 4 damage there by not drawing first, by the way. Let's discard... I don't really want to discard Snakebite. What am I playing this turn? I'm playing Serpent Form and Infinite Blades, probably. So I guess I'll just discard Defend and Acrobatics. And we'll play Serpent Form, Infinite Blades, and Deflect for the extra damage here. I think we can get away with Mind Rot against the Knowledge Demon. This is going to be kind of a slow fight. Usually you should take Disintegration, but also I think this is the hardest of the Act 2 bosses. But here we already have Pale's Blood, so we're just kind of offsetting that, and this deck will cycle through its cards enough that I think we can play with Mind Rot here. I don't avoid a discard this turn, sadly. But let's go with Shiv and Noxious Fumes for sure. And I'll play Defend and Defend. Just block all the damage. We'll leave Piercing Wail in the deck as well. And Snakebite we can retain for a turn when the enemy is not really attacking. Definitely unfortunate that we didn't draw, like... I mean, we'll draw Calculated Gamble and Abrasive next turn. But not having any of our acrobatics on turns when we could play that and having Abrasive at the bottom of the deck is a little sad. But we can just play our Shiv here. And what else do I want? We'll play Sucker Punch, weakening this enemy. I'll play Deadly Poison here, Survivor, and I'll discard the Snakebite so we can remove the Ascender's Bane from the deck, because we can play Pinpoint this turn. And then we take 7. We draw 3 extra cards as well, which is nice. So let's play our Phantom Blades here, because I want to play the Shiv. So I'm going to play Phantom Blades first. I'll play Shiv and Deflect, because even though we're playing Calculated Gamble, getting those out early is still better, just for the extra Serpent Form damage. And we'll have plenty of block this turn because of our Tough Bandages. And then we can play Calculated Gamble, playing Abrasive and Ricochet. Then let's start with Acrobatics here. And I'll discard Defend, because we don't need that this turn. I'll play... I would like to redraw Pinpoint, so I'll play it. And then I'll play Acrobatics again. And I'll discard a Defend here. And then I'll play Neutralize, and I'll play Prepared, and we'll see what we redraw into. Nothing important, so we'll just discard these 2 cards, and we'll keep our Snakebite. And this is why Snakebite is not bad. Like, you can play it on a turn like this, and it just gives you an extra card in your hand for things like Calculated Gamble. So here, let's start with Acrobatics. And I'll discard Ricochet, of course. I will play my Snakebite. I'll play Neutralize. I'll play Defend. And I'll play Pinpoint. And of course, we play the Defend before playing Pinpoint because we want to discount it, and we get Serpent Form damage. Now we'll take Disintegration over Sloth. There's very few decks where it's right to take Sloth. But I need to be aware that I'm taking 22 this turn. Let's start with Acrobatics. And I'll discard... I'm not going to be playing a second Acrobatics, right? Although I have prepared to block for 6 as well. So I think I can just discard the Defend here, and I'll play Prepared. Start with that and see what we draw into. And then we'll discard 2 more Defends. And then I can play Acrobatics. And I think I can just keep discarding Defends, right? Because we can play Survivor, and that'll be plenty of block. Because I just need to block for 10 more this turn. We have Deflect, so we'll play Pinpoint, we'll play Shiv, we'll play Neutralize. And I'll play Deflect. I'll play Survivor, discarding Piercing Wail. And I'll play Deadly Poison. And then this turn, we can go with just enough damage that we can win the fight here. So we can go Ricochet, discard. We'll just discard the Snakebite. Enemy is dying this turn, but I need to play enough block that I don't take any damage off the Disintegration. Just important to remember that at the end of this fight. Also, I can just kill it this turn anyways, but if I was passing the turn and letting Poison finish it. So, very clean Knowledge Demon fight, and I think our deck is now quite strong at the end of Act 2. Blessing of the Forge is good. Let's see what we get here. Ooh, really interesting again. Tools of the Trade, though, with Tough Bandages, just so strong. I don't think we can afford to pass that. Another abrasive would be really nice as well. I really like this card. And Venom, I already talked about how good this is. I mean, 2 poison for every shiv that we get through is really nice, but Tools of the Trade is like overall top 3 or so silent cards. The raw power on this is just so strong, especially because we have tough bandages. So we're going to be taking that. And then let's move on to Act 3. And jumping in for Act 3, as you can see, I stepped away for several hours, left the game running, so we're once again going for the Anti-Speedrun Award. Let's see what the Ancient has for us. So, there's a few different options here that I think are all fine. Preserved Fog can be okay. We don't have a Bag of Preparation, which is when I really like to have this card, but with Pale's Blood, and of course we're the Silent, so we have Ring of the Snake, having 1 dead card in our opening hand is certainly not bad, and there are a few cards that we wouldn't mind removing, though overall, this deck doesn't need that many cards removed. Enthralled is obviously very bad when you draw it, but the extra energy every turn can be pretty powerful as well. Usually I like this on a less combo-based deck, and because we're the Silent, we're going to be cycling through our deck over and over again pretty frequently. So that's going to make it a little bit more difficult to use Enthralled, because we'll constantly redraw it off of stuff like Prepared. So I think we're going to be taking Choices Paradox here. Just because there's not that much stuff we really want to remove, and this can give us some fairly powerful options. Because the card comes with Retain, it doesn't junk up your deck unless you actually play it, and of course you can end up with some pretty good cards off of it. So we'll be taking this. I'm not happy with this set of Ancient rewards. This, I think, is 3 of the weaker ones we could have rolled here. Looking at the path, so I would love to take a shop, but our shops are really awkwardly placed in this map. We've got just 3 in the same track, so we would have to do at least 2 if I went this way, and we wouldn't have enough gold to remove a card by the time we got here. So that, I think, is probably not a great path for us, even though it does give us a shop. If we go up the middle here, we could do something like this, and take an elite fight if we're feeling strong, or a campfire if we're not. And then we could probably just branch back this way, or obviously re-meet over here. And then we're taking 2 hard mode hallway fights total, because in Act 2 and 3, it's after the first 2. This right-hand path is not really any good. It's just too many fights again. So I think we'll go up the center here. I'm kind of hoping that we roll into a shop in one of the question mark rooms. Honestly, this Act 3 start isn't amazing. We got some pretty bad options for our Ancient rewards, and the map isn't great, but we should be able to make it work anyways. Okay, so a couple interesting cards here. Assassinate is just pretty good overall. We can just play that and deal some damage to one of these enemies right away, and it exhausts, of course, so that's not bad either. Flechettes, if I play it on the first turn, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 skills in hand. I could play Prepared and maybe discard some. If we draw into 2 skills, then we could get even more. 20 damage for the 4 skills I don't think is good enough. Strangle, we do have the 1 extra energy. We're going to play a couple 0-cost cards, so Strangle could be pretty powerful, or I could just take Prepared. But I think we'll take the Strangle, and we'll try to kill one of these enemies. I guess the one that's doing 16 damage this turn, because I have so many cards that I'm playing that we should be able to do enough damage while still blocking, I think. So let's actually play the Strangle here. And then I'll neutralize this enemy, so we only have to play 1 block card this turn. And then, do I want to play Prepared? I could just play the Pinpoint as well, because we have the Pendib damage. So I could play, like, Defend into Prepared into Pinpoint. So let's do that. So we'll go Defend, we'll go to block this 8 damage, then we'll go Prepared. I'll discard. I'm not playing Calculated Gamble this turn, so I can discard that. We'll keep Snakebite because it has Retain. I'm not playing Defend this turn, so we'll discard that. and then we can pinpoint killing this enemy. Actually, I didn't even need to play the defend this turn because of the tough bandages, so another small error there. And then here I can damage. This one's weak for 2 turns, so we'll go ahead and just damage the one that is going to be gaining strength, so that we can kill it faster. So I could have sequenced that a little better for a little more damage on the other enemies, but overall still a pretty powerful first turn. Here, this is definitely a lot harder. We don't have any discard, and I don't have enough damage to be able to kill these enemies currently. So I've got Defend, Ricochet. I could play Blessing of the Forge in order to get some extra block. This enemy is taking 4 damage here, down to 17. Why is the health bar is doing something a little weird? It's not showing the graphic unless I mouse over it, which is kind of throwing me off, actually. But it's going down to 17 after it takes the 4 poison damage. The first attack for 8, if I have the Abrasive in play, it'll take 4 Thorns damage back. But this hand is really bad. Not drawing into any of our Acrobatics or Piercing Wail or anything, or Survivor or anything like that, and all of our block being at the bottom of the deck, means that we're going to lose some maximum health here. Is it worth playing Blessing of the Forge? I don't think so. So I think what we're going to be doing this turn is probably just setting up my powers. Snakebite is 11. If I go Snakebite and Ricochet, I would need all 4 hits from the Ricochet to hit this Scroll of Biting, so there's no way I can kill it there either. So I guess we're just trying to prevent the maximum amount of damage, and we're taking a bunch of damage this turn. Really, really awkward fight here. But we'll play our powers, and do I want Phantom Blades or just to play Ricochet? I guess I'll play the Phantom Blades because it's going to make it easier to kill the enemies this coming turn. But we lost a lot of max HP here, so really rough. We've got Shiv for 13 damage, so I can hit that. And, okay, now the health bar is fixed. And let me go with Deflect, because I'm always going to be playing that. I need to get 16 block, because we're planning to kill this enemy as well. So Survivor, Defend would work. Let's start with Acrobatics and see what we draw into. And if I draw anything like Abrasive is fine, that's at least some extra block for us. And so now I just need 8 block, which I can get off of Survivor. But what I don't have is any damaging cards for this enemy again. So I need to play Acrobatics here, looking for Ricochet, or Neutralize in order to kill the enemy this turn, before it can attack. And then I still need to play Survivor. I could also have played Piercing Wail in order to avoid redrawing it. Now we just get to kill the enemy here, but really rough first fight of Act 3. Let's look at these cards. Yeah, I'm very happy to pick up Backflip. We need more card draw. We definitely need more block in the deck as well, so Backflip will help us cycle through our deck. It's upgraded already, which is perfect. But taking that much damage and losing 8 maximum health really hurts at the beginning of this act. Okay, so I could enchant Calculated Gamble to make it not exhaust. Decay is pretty bad for us. It's a really rough curse to add. But being able to cycle through the deck over and over with Calculated Gamble is pretty powerful. So let's go with that, and we will we'll be able to just cycle over and over. Now if we find like Corrosive Wave, it's great. Obviously it's excellent with Tough Bandages as well. So adding 1 curse to the deck in exchange for that extreme power spike, I think is worth it in this spot. Here I can go with Hidden Daggers. Reflex, do we have a way to discard? We have Acrobatics to discard, so I could take Reflex. And of course I can retain it. I could take Tools of the Trade, which is very powerful as well. I would love to get our Abrasive into play against this set of enemies, because they're not very strong. They take a lot of damage from Thorns. Follow Through is also really good. We could just weaken everything here. Let's actually take that, because I have enough card draw. We have Acrobatics in hand as well, and Follow Through will help me avoid taking damage. So I'll play Deflect, and then we can play Follow Through for a weakness on both of these enemies. Now we're taking 19 total damage here. Let's... I'm not playing Serpent Form this turn, so let's go Acrobatics, and we'll discard Ricochet, of course, gaining 3 more block. And then I currently have just a Defend in terms of the ability to block. So what else do I need to play? I guess Infinite Blades, Phantom Blades, and Tools of the Trade are kind of my my cards in hand. We also have Decay as well. So we'll play a Defend, and we'll play Infinite Blades and Tools of the Trade. Getting some block set up, and we'll take a hit here. This turn, we'll discard Abrasive off of Tools of the Trade, which is, we then get to play it, which is perfect, of course. And then let's go with a Shiv on this enemy. We'll play our Prepared. I'll discard Defend, which I'm not playing, and Snakebite, which I'm not playing. I'm going to play Neutralize on this enemy, because we want to keep it weakened for longer. I can play Acrobatics as well. I didn't draw into a Sly card, but we're probably not playing Deadly Poison this turn, so I'll just go ahead and discard that. I'll play the Backflip as well, and then I'm going to set up Noxious Fumes, play Pinpoint on this enemy for 30 damage there, and then we can play Calculated Gamble to do some redrawing. This turn, this hand, I could go Acrobatics. I could also just play Deadly Poison. Let's get the Deadly Poison set up. It'll just kill this enemy a little faster. This has been a very rough start to Act 3, but I think we can recover. Let's start with... This enemy's dying, so I can set up Serpent Form if I want. And I guess that's fine to do. We'll just play the Serpent Form. We'll play Prepared to get rid of the Decay, because obviously I want to get rid of that. I'll play the Shiv, because I don't really want to redraw it. And then nothing in particular that I want to discard. I'll just discard a Defend, and we'll play Deflect, we'll play Neutralize, we'll play Pinpoint, and that ends the fight. Alright, let's see what we got. Well-Laid Plans is incredible. Untouchable, we definitely want as well, but I think that this deck is crying out for a Well-Laid Plans, because it will let me set up my combos significantly more easily. All of the cards that we need to be able to keep in hand in order to discard with Sly. The fact that we haven't gotten an Untouchable, we haven't gotten a Footwork, and we've had to pass on a few of these is hurting us. So it's possible that we should prioritize picking this, but again, with Tough Bandages, I don't think we need that as much. So I'm going to take the Well-Laid Plans here. And then here, we're going to go to the right. And we have to take on a hard mode fight. In this fight, I could go with Fan of Knives, doesn't matter. This is only against one enemy. We'll probably just play... Actually, I could play Bullet Time, and I could draw into some pretty powerful effects to play with the Bullet Time. So let's go ahead and play that. Obviously, we have to play our card draw before we play the Bullet Time, but we have a decent amount of card draw. Do I want Acrobatics or Backflip? I guess we can play the Acrobatics. So we'll go Acrobatics. Oh no, it's still only +2 cards. So let's start with Prepared. Draw 2, and we'll discard Ricochet and Piercing Wail. I don't need to play this turn, so we can discard that. And then I'm going to play Acrobatics. drawing up to 10, and then we discard again. I'm not playing Calculated Gamble this turn, so I'll discard that because we're going to play Bullet Time and just play everything in hand. So we can discard that, and then I'm going to play Bullet Time. And we can just play everything here. Any reason not to play any of these cards in particular? Not really. So then this turn, I get to discard a card. Let's discard probably Serpent Form. We're not playing. The Serpent Form has been very bad overall, by the way. Like I said, it was good in the one fight, but overall, I have not been thrilled to have it in my deck. Let's play Acrobatics here, because I need some block. So we'll play Acrobatics. I'm going to discard the Phantom Blades. And then we can play Defend. And then Pinpoint isn't free to play. Let's just set up our Noxious Fumes and get that going, and we'll take 5. Alright, so here I'm going to discard Abrasive, and I can use Acrobatics to get the Decay out of my hand as well, but it's also just take 2 damage. It's not that big a deal. We'll play Deflect to make Pinpoint cheaper. I'll play Acrobatics to draw into more cards, and we can discard Ricochet here. I could Bullet Time and just play everything, and I guess that's good. So let's go ahead and play Backflip here, and then I can play Bullet Time, and we get to play this entire hand. Do I want to keep Piercing Wail in the deck? I guess so, so I will avoid exhausting the Piercing Wail. And I don't need to play... Well, I'll play Calculated Gamble just to discard the Decay. Though, that doesn't matter, because we have enough block. Decay is damage and not health loss, so as long as you have some block, it won't be a problem. Here, we're probably just discarding Serpent Form again. I'll play Neutralize, so we've got 14 incoming damage. Let's start with an Acrobatics, and we can discard Sucker Punch here. We'll play the Shiv as well. I need to block for 8 more, so just the Defend is good enough. Let's start with Prepared and see what we draw into. We can't play Bullet Time this turn, so we can just discard these 2. I'll play Backflip, because it's as much block as Defend, and I do still need to block for 2 more, so I can't afford to play both of these powers or the Deadly Poison. We've got more than enough block for the Decay not to matter, so let's play Well-Laid Plans and pass the turn. And I will keep just the Defend in hand. 21 damage coming in this turn. We can discard one of our Defends here, and I'll play Neutralize again. Do I want to just play Calculated Gamble? That would be block for 15. So that seems good enough. Piercing Wail would be fine as well. But I think we'll play the Calculated Gamble, we'll cycle, we'll draw a couple more cards here, so we should have enough block, no problem. With Serpent Form and Deflect, I can actually get the Serpent Form into play, and we can play Deflect as well, and that's enough block. And we'll retain Acrobatics here. And then this turn, we'll discard Ricochet. We'll play our Shiv. I'll play Prepared. I should play Acrobatics first, just more total cards in hand. Discard Defend here. I can play Neutralize. I can play another Acrobatics. Discard Deflect, which we don't need. Then I can play Prepared. Just keep cycling through the deck a bunch. We'll discard Decay and Piercing Wail. We can play Pinpoint. Play Deadly Poison. I guess I could have set up the Phantom Blades also before playing my Shiv, but I wasn't sure that we were going to play it this turn, so we sacrificed a little bit of damage there in case I could like loop through Deadly Poison and stuff, which would have been more damage overall. And then we'll retain the Calculated Gamble, and of course Snakebite retains itself. Here, we'll just discard a defend, and then we'll play a shiv, and we'll start with acrobatics here. I'm just looking for any damage, basically, that we can play. Bullet time, I could just play here. I could also just calculated gamble. Snakebite is not enough damage, so let's play deflect, because it costs 0, does 4 damage, and then I'll play calculated gamble, draw a bunch of cards. I could have played backflip first, but I'm looking for damage cards here, and we can draw into pinpoint, and that's enough to win the fight. Alright, so we made it out of this fight. We took a little bit more damage, but the deck is starting to come together a little better. Do I want another knock? Now that we have the backflip, that's a big deal. Oh, that was also a random fight, so we're going to lose even more health. That's pretty rough, that we rolled into a random fight there after that kind of tough start to Act 3. Do I want another Noxious Fumes? I think I probably do, even not upgraded. This is a good way to fight both the Doormaker and the Queen. Will tend to have long, difficult fights. So another Noxious Fumes is going to be kind of helpful against them, and then we'll go to the left here. I'm going to need to take a... what a brutal encounter here. I do have Follow Through as one option. Escape Plan, of course, is always good. Blade of Ink was changed, so this lets you now make 2 Inky Shivs, and Inky gives them 2 extra damage, and they apply weakness. So this is an easy way to apply weakness, which is pretty powerful. Probably, though, I should just take the Bullet Time. It's so good for this deck. So Bullet Time, I think, is going to be the way to go here. All of these other options are great, but this one's really strong. I'm also going to use my Liquid Thorns for this fight, because the enemies will attack me enough that the Liquid Thorns should be pretty powerful. I don't have a way to draw cards currently in this hand, so we'll just play the Bullet Time here. And we'll play Serpent Form. And we'll play Piercing Wail. Sucker Punch on this enemy. Defend is not quite enough. I could Deadly Poison and Snakebite this enemy as well, because that would be 12 damage, so I would need 2 of my 4 Serpent Form procs to go on this enemy, which I guess we might as well try for. Alright, we missed 1. We'll hit it with Snakebite as well, and then we missed the other one, so we'll play Defend and Well-Laid Plans here. And then we're taking some more damage, losing a little bit more maximum health. But Piercing Wail was very good there, of course. This turn, I have Prepared that can let me play Abrasive for free, so we'll definitely start there. And we'll discard Abrasive and Ricochet. We did waste some damage against the enemy that was dying to poison, which was the potential reason not to play the poison cards both on the same enemy. Let's play Deflect for more damage. I'll play Acrobatics, because I'm looking to draw into Calculated Gamble, was exactly what we wanted there. Infinite Blades we probably won't need for this fight. It's not going to go that long. Do I want to set up any of these cards before I Calculated Gamble? I guess I should definitely play the Pinpoint. So we'll hit this enemy, and then I'll play Calculated Gamble. I could have played Acrobatics first as well, but I'm still hoping to roll into more damage, so I want the energy to be able to do that. And then we'll play Backflip here. Draw 2 cards. I will play Prepared as well. And we'll discard Defend and Noxious Fumes. And then we can play Pinpoint and win the fight. Alright, so only took a little damage there, not so bad. We also got our potion back after I spent a potion. Reflex, I definitely want more Sly cards, so I'm pretty happy taking a Reflex. I would love to upgrade the Well-Laid Plans we have. Adding an upgraded one, I don't think we really want, but Reflex we'll definitely take here. Makes the deck more consistent. And let's go to the left. So I could rest. We have the Regal Pillow, though, so I think I'm going to Smith, because Well-Laid Plans is so important to this deck and so powerful when upgraded that we're going to go ahead and upgrade that here. And then we'll go to the right. Strike Dummy, we don't have any strikes left in the deck, so that's a completely blank relic for us, unfortunately. And I think we are going to take these 3 events. We can lose Blessing of the Forge and get an upgraded uncommon skill. Let's go ahead and do that, and we'll see if there's one that we want here. Okay, all of these are great options. So Haze is a good way to accelerate our damage, but Leg Sweep is exactly what we've been looking for. A good blocking card that applies a bunch of weakness. So that really fills a gap that this deck had. So we're happy to find the Leg Sweep. Chandelier, great relic here, and then we'll go to another event. Tinker Time, also excellent. The Mad Science can be a draw spell or an energy creation spell. So this will always be 8 block, and it'll either like draw 2 cards or create some energy. The power can make all your powers cheaper, which is pretty nice for this deck that has a lot of powers. It has a couple other options as well. Typically, if you have this many powers in the deck, I think you should go for the gadget, the power. Though both of these are great options. This is one of the best events that you can get. So we're going to go for Curious here, because discounting all our powers is really nice. This deck needs energy generation, and that's a good way to provide it. Then we'll go ahead and take an Elite Fight here. I guess what we want here is just the Haze. I could also just take Phantom Blades, but Haze seems like the strongest option just for trying to kill the Mecha Knight a little bit faster. Do I have a way of actually applying weakness to it this turn? Because I really would like that. I can discard, I can play Deadly Poison and Haze, but that's the only effects we can play that remove Artifact. So rather than do that, we're going to play Survivor discarding Decay to try to maximize our HP. We'll play Defend, we'll play the Neutralize, because we're not going to be able to get enough block on it, and we'll play another Defend, we'll play Pinpoint for free, and I'll set up Noxious Fumes, and we'll take 6. And the Haze having Retain is pretty nice for this deck, of course. It's going to add 4 burns to my hand. We didn't draw our... really sad that our Mad Science is in the bottom of the deck here. So let's go with... what do I actually want to play? Probably just some powers. So I'll just go Noxious Fumes, Well-Laid Plans, and Tools of the Trade. And then we'll use the Well-Laid Plans to keep the Reflex. So let's end turn. We'll keep Reflex, and we'll keep Leg Sweep, because that should give me enough weakness. Enemy's going to add some burns to my hand here, and I can discard Haze. I don't want to discard Reflex, because we obviously have a full hand already. Extra energy from the Chandelier, so we have a lot of options for cards we can play here. Let's go with Backflip to start. Don't have a lot of block this turn, or I don't have any discard this turn, excuse me. So let's just go Leg Sweep. We'll apply 3 turns of weakness here. I could play the Reflex, but let's just do Snake Bite and Ricochet. Maximize our damage, get the poison stacking up. We'll retain Reflex and Defend here. 33 incoming damage, not bad. I can discard Reflex and we'll draw up to 10 cards. I've already kind of played all of my powers, so Mad Science is no longer particularly good here. I do want to get Abrasive into play first. So how do I want to order this? There's a lot of different options for how I could do this. Calculated Gamble gives me 27 block, just flat out, if I just play it, because we discard 9 cards. And we get to play the Abrasive. So that's probably the way to go here. It does mean that we don't lose the Ascender's Bane, but I could also play Deflect first. It's slightly better. Slightly better in terms of block. We get 1 more block, but draw 1 fewer card. I think I'm just going to play the Calculated Gamble, just straight up. And we should be able to replay a bunch of cards here. We've already got 30 block here. And then I can set up Serpent Form and play Deflect. Just getting that set up is pretty good as well, and Deflect is enough block. And we can Pinpoint as well for just a little bit more damage. Here I'll keep an Acrobatics, and I guess I'll keep Infinite Blades because I do want to get that into play. Let's discard Haze. We have 10 cards in hand. I'm playing Infinite Blades this turn, so... Well, let's start with Prepared. So I draw 2, we can discard Reflex and Decay, and draw 2 more. I'm playing Infinite Blades this turn, so I'll start with Mad Science, and then we can play Infinite Blades for free. Rough ordering on those, and Phantom Blades as well. Rough ordering on our Mad Science, but we still got 1 energy worth of value out of it, so not terrible. We'll play Acrobatics here, and we can just discard 1 of the burns. We can play Neutralize, we can play Sucker Punch, and we can play Survivor. Actually, I'm going to keep Survivor in hand, because we have Well-Laid Plans, so that's our most powerful defensive card here, and can help us play Sly cards for free. We'll discard Ricochet here. I'll play Backflip. I'll play the Shiv. I'll play the... I guess we're taking 10 currently, so I can just play Snakebite, actually, and we'll keep Leg Sweep and Survivor in hand. I don't need to play any of these other cards, but we'll play the Defend just for 4 damage. So this is going to be a pretty clean Mecha Knight fight, at least. Here, I'm going to discard Ricochet again, because I don't want to draw 2 cards off the Reflex alone. I don't have a lot of Defend this turn. The enemy is weakened. So, we'll start with the Shiv. I can get 12 block off of Survivor and 9 off of Defend, which is 21, 24 block. Or I can get 15 off of Leg Sweep and 12 off of Survivor, which is 27 block for 30 total. I could also... Well, I'm always going to play Survivor, so let's play Survivor and we'll discard Reflex. We'll see what we draw into. Can I kill the enemy this turn with Deadly Poison Sucker Punch? That's 9 damage plus 12 damage is 21 total damage, plus the 38. So yeah, that does work. We just get to kill it this turn. And I'm counting, obviously, 9 and 12 there because we have the Serpent Form. And then it dies to the poison. Regen Potion is a pretty nice one here. Gorget, also pretty nice. And I don't need another Reflex. I would definitely take a Tactician, the one that gives energy. But another Reflex we don't need. You can see we're drawing basically our entire deck every turn. Or we're drawing our up to 10 cards every turn. So we're going to skip on another Reflex here, and then we'll take another fight. Don't really want any of these cards. I guess I'll take Malaise, because it's the one that's most likely to be useful. And let's start by playing Prepared. We'll draw up to 10, discard down to 8, draw back up to 10 when I discard Reflex, so that's fine. So we'll play Prepared here, we'll discard Reflex, and I'll discard Defend. Redraw some cards. And then I need to play a little bit more in the way of block. I'll start with Deflect, just get that out there. And Survivor, we'll play the Pinpoint. I'm just clearing space in my hand so I can play Acrobatics. And we'll play the Acrobatics. We can discard a Defend. Sucker Punch is a good way to apply weakness, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Enemies coming in for 15 damage this turn, so I can play just any defensive card. So I'll play Defend. I'll play Mad Science, and then we can set up my other powers. And pass the turn, and we'll keep... all of my cards have retained, so we'll keep the ones that don't. Here, there's nothing that I can discard for profit, but we can discard the Decay. And we'll set up... Oh, actually, I can probably get away with playing Serpent Form this turn. We have plenty of block. So I'll play Serpent Form before I play Noxious Fumes, so we get extra damage here. I will then play Backflip. And I'll play Phantom Blades for sure. I have 12 damage incoming with 14 blocks, so we're fine there. So let's play Survivor, discarding Abrasive, because of course I want to get that set up as well. And then we will pass the turn again, retaining the 2 cards that don't naturally have Retain. Again, nothing that I can discard for profit here, but we'll just discard a Defend. And I definitely set up the Noxious Fumes, and I'll play Neutralize. Do I want to play Piercing Wail before I play Calculated Gamble? Probably. So let's play Piercing Wail. Just maximize the defense that we're playing this turn. We'll play Acrobatics, drawing some cards. Discard Ricochet, which we can play for free. Then I will set up Infinite Blade, and I'll play Calculated Gamble. It's not the biggest Calculated Gamble in the world, but it's a pretty good card to play. Although, do I want to play Leg Sweep first? Probably, because Leg Sweep is one of my best cards overall, so we're drawing a couple fewer cards. But we get to have played Leg Sweep, which is pretty important. Then I can play Backflip, drawing some more cards. We can play Prepared, and we'll discard Reflex and Decay here. And we've got Acrobatics that I can play, and I'll discard a Defend, play a Pinpoint on this enemy. We don't need to hit the other one, and we'll play Deflect because it's free. Free damage here. And we'll retain a couple more cards. Alright, so the Fabricator fight, this was very clean so far. Discard that. Obviously, we're not playing the Reflex for free if I discard there, but that's okay. And then I can go Backflip. Play Neutralize. We'll play Prepared. Discard Reflex and Defend. We'll play Deflect. And sure, we'll play the Snake Bite, winning the fight. Well, slightly faster if I kill it with Pinpoint there. I don't need the Flex Potion, but I guess it's better than the Fire Potion, probably. Because there will be turns where I play more attacks. No, I guess I need to play 4 attacks to make up the damage for the Flex Potion over the Fire Potion, so that was probably an error. Do I want a Speedster going into the boss fights? This is a way that I can add more damage to the deck, which is something I'm a little worried about. Outbreak is also kind of interesting, because we are going to be applying a lot of poison. Outbreak with the Envenoms that we passed on would also have been very nice as well. That is a pretty powerful combination. Speedster's only 1 damage, unless I upgrade it. So, I think I'm just skipping on this set of cards. And then we'll go here, I'll take a rest, and we'll keep our regen potion for after we've taken damage. And then it is on to the new and improved Doormaker fight. Okay, Footwork is like an ideal card to find for this fight, so we're very happy to grab that. So the Choices Paradox coming through when it counts the most. I don't have my Mad Science this turn, but I can play Prepared, and we can discard Abrasive, and doesn't really matter what else I play. Basically, the first turn of the Doormaker fight, you always want to set up powers, because there's no benefit to like debuffing it or anything. So we'll play Footwork, Tools of the Trade, and Noxious Fumes, and I'll use my Calculated Gamble to try to find more powers to play. And we did find Infinite Blades and Phantom Blades as well. Would have loved to get Serpent Form down this turn, but we should be able to find a turn to play it later. Alright, so here we'll discard Decay. This is the turn where the enemy exhausts all our attacks and skills that we play. I really don't want to exhaust Neutralize, because it is one of our better ways to apply weakness. But I do need to weaken the enemy this turn, most likely. And we still have a couple ways to apply weakness in the deck. We've got Leg Sweep, and we have Sucker Punch, though we never upgraded the Sucker Punch. The other option is I could exhaust Survivor. I could also just take a bunch of damage this turn and use the regen potion to recover if I don't want to exhaust cards. So I think what we're going to do is I'm just going to play my powers this turn. I'll play the Defend, because I definitely want to exhaust the Defend. And then we've got 26 incoming damage. We'll, of course, play our Shiv as well. 26 incoming damage, so I need to decide, and we have 14 block. I need to decide what I want to exhaust. And I think exhausting Deflect is fine. So I'll take, but I'll keep Neutralize on the deck. I think Neutralize is too good to exhaust here. So this turn we can't draw cards, so we'll discard Ricochet. 35 incoming damage, and keeping Neutralize really paying off here. So I'll play that. I will play the Shiv. And I'll play Defend. I'll play Survivor, discarding Acrobatics. Because I want to keep Acrobatics and Reflex this turn. And then we can play Pinpoint as well. And we manage to block everything. We don't spend all our energy, but it's hard on the turn where we can't draw cards. So, this turn is much more dangerous, the Grasp turn, because it now is, whenever you play a card, lose in energy. So things like Shivs, things like playing Ricochet for free, all of those are going to decrease our energy overall, which makes this turn much harder than it used to be. I wish I could drink my Flex Potion before discarding Ricochet here, because I think that is what we are discarding. Which is sad. We are going to lose in energy doing that, but that's okay. I can still block enough with Backflip or Survivor here. So we're going to play Backflip. Prepared costs an energy at this point, so I don't want to play that. I have not quite enough block, so let's go with Survivor. We'll discard Decay. And now I can play this Shiv. I guess we are wasting a... We would rather use this on Pinpoint, the Pendib proc, but it's still better just to do the Shiv damage, I think. Then I am going to play Prepared, because I can draw into some cards that we can play for free, potentially. So we'll discard Reflex, we'll discard Sucker Punch, I guess. And then didn't manage to draw into anything we can do for free here, but let's go ahead and retain 2 cards, and we'll retain Mad Science. I would like to play this, and then I'll retain Piercing Wail as well. So this turn, anything that we play gets exhausted. Any non-power card that we play gets exhausted. This is also the turn where the enemy is hitting us for the most damage that it's going to do. Let's discard... I'm never playing Leg Sweep this turn, but I wouldn't mind keeping the Leg Sweep in hand. Calculated Gamble I don't want to play because I don't want to exhaust it, so I guess I'll discard the Calculated Gamble. I'm always playing Piercing Wail, because this way we decrease the incoming damage by the largest quantity. I'm always playing Shiv, so I'll just do that. I think it might be time to exhaust either Leg Sweep or Neutralize, because while it's useful to have those around, weakness is really important to apply to this enemy, and they're not so critical that I want to redraw them all the time. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the Neutralize, exhausting it. We'll play the Defend, exhausting that, because exhausting Defend is just good. And then I'll play the Pinpoint, or the Mad Science. I think exhausting Pinpoint is also pretty good. It just makes the deck stronger. So I'll do that. I'll keep Leg Sweep, and I'll keep Mad Science. We can maybe find an energy to play it on this coming turn. Here we are in the no card draw phase, so let's discard Ricochet. And what else am I going to play? I'll start with a Shiv, of course, because we're always going to play that. We've got 30 damage incoming this turn. Leg Sweep is 16 block, so that's pretty good to play here. And I can always just discard my hand with the Calculated Gamble, so I think we are going to do that. We'll play the Mad Science, just to get that out there, and we'll discard our hand with Calculated Gamble for a bunch of block. Now, what this means is that I don't get to retain anything, but that's fine. We stopped all the damage. Here, I can discard a card, and there's nothing I can play for free, so let's just discard the Sucker Punch here. I have 21 damage incoming. I'll start with, what am I drawing into? I'm drawing into Defend, which isn't bad. I could start with Serpent Form, and then just play one defensive card, so Serpent Form, Survivor. And then we're taking enough damage that the regen potion will get its full value. So I think that's the plan here. We'll go Serpent Form, we'll play Survivor, discarding Defend. I'll play Shiv. And I'll play Prepared. And we'll discard Defend and Deadly Poison. And we'll keep Acrobatics and Leg Sweep. This turn, we'll discard Ricochet. So we are slowly losing strength, but we're going to be killing it with poison anyways, so it doesn't matter that much. We'll always play the Shiv. And I'll play the Defend as well, because I want to exhaust that. I don't mind exhausting Sucker Punch either, so I'm pretty happy to play that. I think we can exhaust one Acrobatics as well. So let's go ahead and play the Acrobatics. We'll discard Decay here, because I want to keep Reflex in the deck. And do I want to discard it or exhaust a Backflip? I probably should, because I need to avoid taking too much damage. So exhausting Backflip is a little painful, but it gets the deck thin enough that we're in pretty good shape for the amount of block and damage that we can do with like Leg Sweep and Survivor for maximizing our block. Calculated Gamble, we can replay our deck every turn. We won't be able to draw next turn, so we'll keep Leg Sweep and Survivor here. And then this turn, we can't draw. I'm going to discard the Reflex anyways, because we still get 4 damage off it, even though it won't let us draw a card. And we'll play the Shiv. I'll play Prepared here, just to discard. Although, actually, I should have just used Calculated Gamble for that. But I guess we'll just discard the Calculated Gamble. Because basically, I just wanted to do some blocking with that, but it was better to just do that with Calc Gamble. And then I can go Leg Sweep and Survivor for maximizing our block. And we'll keep the Acrobatics. And then this turn, all of our cards get more expensive. If I discard Reflex, we redraw into the Reflex, right? So let's just discard the Decay here. What do I actually want to play this turn? I have 24 incoming damage, and we can block basically all of it with Calculated Gamble. So let's just start by doing that. We lose 1 energy, but I draw my whole deck again. And then I can... And now we have enough block that I can just focus on doing damage. So I'll just play... Snakebite is better than Deadly Poison, because either leaves us at 0 energy. Snakebite's a little more poison. We can play the Shiv here, and then I'll play Prepared as well. And we can just discard a couple cards. No, not the Snakebite, because it has Retain. And we'll keep Calculated Gamble and Defend. We're going to exhaust our deck this turn, except that the fight is over, because we did enough damage. Alright, so I took 10 damage against the Doormaker. I'm pretty happy with that. The Flex Potion was useless, obviously. I'd rather have the Fire Potion, but this is still fine. Okay, so not having Footwork is going to make this a lot harder, obviously, but Storm of Steel, this is a card we've been kind of talking about. It'll make the Flex Potion very good. So yeah, let's just pick this up. It works incredibly well with my Tough Bandages. So really nice find there. We can play Abrasive for free as well. So what do I want to play? Storm of Steel will let me get... We have 9 cards in hand, so that's 24 block. -3 for every card I play. So if I play Noxious Fumes and then Well-Laid Plans, I can't play... I can't play all of these powers, right? Because if I play 3 powers, we're losing 9 block and taking some damage. Oh wait, but I also have 4 block from the plating here. So let's definitely play Noxious Fumes. And I'll play Well-Laid Plans for sure. Storm of Steel now represents 18 block, which is plenty, so I can play 1 more card before I play any block. So let's play Infinite Blades, and then we get 15 block plus 4 from our plating, which will prevent the Torch Head from dealing any damage. We also get to play Abrasive, which is nice. I could play Acrobatics first, but I don't have enough energy. So we'll do that, and I'll use my Flex Potion here. There's probably going to be a future turn where the Flex Potion is a little better. But I think this is a good turn to use it anyways, so just making sure that I get value out of it is important. Alright, 19 incoming damage. We have, a new graphic for Bound. I really like this graphic, actually. So I can't play all of these cards, or I can only play one of these cards. It's probably going to be the Calculated Gamble. So let's go with Mad Science and Tools of the Trade for sure, because I want to get those out. I could play Leg Sweep here as well. Maybe that's just better than the Calculated Gamble, because it prevents all the incoming damage. And then we can just retain these two. Now we're fragile and vulnerable. The 2026 experience. We'll discard Ricochet, just get a free card play here. And this turn, Backflip, Pinpoint, and Defend are bound. I will say, against the Silence card background, it is a little hard to see the bound cards. But I'll play the Shiv here. And I think I'm going to just go with Backflip. I'll put Phantom Blades into play. I'll play Acrobatics as well. And I can discard the Decay here, that's fine. I'll play Serpent Form, because I definitely want to get that played. I'll play Noxious Fumes as well. And I'm going to play the Prepared here. I can just discard the 2 bound cards that we can't cast. Then Calculated Gamble will draw 5. Do I want to play Deadly Poison before I play Calculated Gamble, though? We're getting 15 block off of that, which is plenty. So I think Deadly Poison is better than my average card that I'll redraw into. So I am going to play it. And then I'll Calculated Gamble for 4 here. Then I can play Neutralize and Sucker Punch on the Torchhead Amalgam, or I can just play like Reflex and Neutralize if I want to draw cards, but I'll keep Reflex in hand and just use it with well-laid plans. Do I want to play Defend for 4 damage, or would I rather just retain the Defend? I think we would rather retain the Defend here. $18 damage coming in this turn. We can discard Reflex to draw a card, but yeah, and I don't have any other way to discard. So we're giving up 1 card draw by doing this, but I think it is worth it just to play that for free. Because I don't have any other way to discard cards in this. Oh, no, wait, I had Storm of Steel, which would have worked still only to draw 1 card with the Reflex. But here, let me just play a Shiv. So this is a turn where the Flex Potion would have been better also. Worth noting that. I'm going to put the Deadly Poison out, because I'd rather play that than Storm of Steel. So I'm going to Deadly Poison the Queen, get that damage stacking, and then I'm going to play Storm of Steel here to play Ricochet for free, discard a bunch of cards, getting a ton of block, and then I don't do that much damage, but we can deal at least this much. And do I want to play a Shiv again this turn? I guess we've got Infinite Blades, so yeah, I'll just keep playing these Shivs. And now the Torchhead is going to die this turn, so I don't need to do anything in particular to that. We can just discard Piercing Wail, because I'm never using that this turn. And I'm going to start focusing damage on the Queen here. So let's start... These are my 2 bound cards. Let's start with Acrobatics, and we'll discard Decay. And I'll play another Acrobatics, trying to cycle through the deck here. I could have played Snakebite as well, but trying to cycle through faster made more sense. We'll discard Defend. I'll play Neutralize on the Queen. We'll play the Shiv, breaking its block here. I could play Survivor, Backflip. I guess we'll just play the Backflip. We'll draw 2 cards. I'll play Prepared as well, because might as well. And we'll discard Reflex, and doesn't matter if I discard Decay, but I can. And then I'll play the Deflect, because I'm not keeping it with well-laid plans anyways, so 4 damage is worth something anyways. And then we'll keep Leg Sweep, and we'll keep Survivor. So we've gotten a decent amount of damage against the Queen already. We'll discard Ricochet here. I could play Storm of Steel for a bunch of damage and block. I will play the Shiv. I think rather than doing that... Well, I'll start with Acrobatics. No, if I start with Acrobatics, I can't play Storm of Steel. So if I'm doing Storm of Steel this turn, I need to make sure to play it. Because it's bound with these 3 cards here. I could also just Calculated Gamble. If I'm playing Calculated Gamble, I probably want to start with Acrobatics. But is Storm of Steel just better this turn? It's so little damage when we're weakened. It's just 3 damage per card. So I think we can actually just do better looking for our poison cards. So I'll play Acrobatics here. Discard Ricochet. 30 damage incoming, and I could get 24 block off of Calculated Gamble. Or I could play Survivor first for a little more block. So I think we can get away with just playing the Snakebite, just stack that poison up a little bit. And then we've got 21 block off Calculated Gamble. And we can draw into any defensive card, so let's just play this. I'll definitely play Neutralize. I will play... Do I want Backflip? Deadly Poison? Prepared is enough block, so we'll play the Deadly Poison. And I'll play Prepared, discarding Decay and Reflex, cycle through the deck even faster. And then we'll play Deflect just for 4 more damage. And then here I'll keep Backflip and Acrobatics. One thing that I really like about Slay the Spire 2, by the way, is that Thorns are just so much stronger than in the first game. This turn, we'll start with a Shiv, just for some extra damage here. And then I'll play the Acrobatics that's not bound. And I'll discard... Pinpoint doesn't really matter. Piercing Wail, we're not playing this turn, so I'll just discard the Piercing Wail. I'm going to play Deadly Poison here as well. And I don't have Calculated Gamble in hand, so I think we're just playing Deadly Poison, and then we're playing Storm of Steel. Because this gives us a ton of block, and then we can play a bunch of Shivs as well. And I don't think there's any reason to retain these Shivs, so I'm just going to play them to make more space in my hand for next turn. Here we'll discard Reflex. It does mean I'm not playing Defend or Leg Sweep, but that's fine. We wouldn't have been playing them anyways. And then we can play our Shiv. We can play Neutralize. We can play Prepared. Discard Decay and Defend here. I'll just play Calculated Gamble because we're just looking for damaging cards. And this is perfect. We win the fight. Alright, so pretty clean boss fight. Honestly, I expected this deck to have a little bit more trouble with the boss fights, but those were overall quite easy. I mean, Noxious Fumes is so good in boss fights, so that's why I wanted that. And the Storm of Steel that we found was really nice. The footwork that we found was really nice. So Choices Paradox kind of coming through in the clutch for us, even though it was pretty bad for most of Act 3. Honestly, I expected this deck to have an easier time with Act 3 than it did, because it was very strong at the end of Act 2, but we got some pretty rough, some rough RNG at the beginning of Act 3 that just made it a little harder with like a bad Ancient Reward and a tougher map. But overall, this was a pretty fun and powerful run. Looking at the deck here, the Infinite Blades ended up pretty bad. Like Infinite Blades and Phantom Blades were just not a significant contributor to our damage output. And just not having them in the deck would have been a little bit better. What else? The Pinpoint was a lot worse than I was expecting, just because we were a more attack-heavy version of the deck when we got Pinpoint. So there were a lot of turns where we weren't playing 3 skills, and we had just too many attacks in hand to make use of this. So I need to pay a little more attention to when I pick that up. Serpent form was very bad for most of the game, but was really good in all of the boss fights. So it did kind of come in handy in the end of Act 2 boss fight and in the 2 Act 3 boss fights. So honestly, I'm okay with the performance here for Serpent form. Abrasive was great. I'm very glad I took that over Storm of Steel, even though we had Serpent form and everything. This was just a really important card to the deck. It was our only source of dexterity, which we needed a lot. Snakebite actually was a pretty good role player. We didn't have a choice about taking this. It was like a transform, I think. But yeah, I was pretty happy to have the Snakebite in the deck. And then, obviously, all the normal all-stars were excellent. Well-Laid Plans, Tools of the Trade, Noxious Fumes, Reflex, Leg Sweep, Prepared, just like all really good cards. The Mad Science was a little worse than I expected as well. Maybe the skill would have been better. All right, my friends, hope that you enjoyed this run. Let's go click through our damage against the Architect here. And I do think that the Silent is a little harder to play without as easy card removal, because this character really loves card removal. But we did get to kind of live the dream with infinitely looping Calculated Gamble and playing Tough Bandages and stuff. So there's still obviously a lot of ways to win, even with a deck that ended up a little unfocused and not great, because we kind of tried to do the Shiv thing and then had it not really work out. But that's how the runs go, and you really have to be able to pivot into a different strategy if the one that you're looking at initially isn't as powerful. So yeah. Hope that you enjoyed the run. As always, of course, if you have, feel free to leave a comment and hit like. Helps me out with the algorithm, so I appreciate you taking the time to do that. And of course, you can subscribe to my channel for more Slay the Spire 2 and other strategy game analysis. Cheers, folks. I'll catch you next time.